Hi, everyone. This is Ashley Ellenboss with Sky House Herb School and Apothecary. And today I'm going to be talking about grief and pine. And while these might not seem related, they are. And pine, I have some white pine here, is such a powerful medicine. It has so many healing qualities. So I want to share with you the medicine of pine. It's really easy to find in most parts of the world, and talk a little bit about the lungs and grief and the the winter time and this time of deep processing. So right now in my personal life, I'm going through a lot of grief processing surrounding one of my parents. And what I'm coming to terms with is that I'm having to work through grieving a parent while they're still alive. And I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but if you have a parent who is not well, that could be mentally, physically, emotionally, that there comes a point where you have to let them go, where you can't carry them in the parental role that they once filled. And so I've been really, it's been heavy. Like my eyes are red, like my face is puffy from crying because yeah, it's a hard thing to let things go when they're still around you. So pine is a great remedy for helping you release grief. It is an aromatic herb. It helps to open up the lungs. It clears the lungs. And in Chinese medicine, the lungs are associated with the emotion of grief. So if you're grieving anything right now, think of pine as a remedy to bring in to help you open. Take some deep breaths and let some big exhalations out. What's really interesting, this is a white pine. This grows pretty much everywhere around the United States. Um, Pine, when white pine has 5 needles per cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was reading in this book, it's called Herbal Rituals by Judith Berger. Let me just show you the cover here. Beautiful, beautiful book. She talks about the native Seneca people, one of the Iroquois tribes, that they talked about how observing that the white pine grew its leaves in clusters of 5, each of the 5 needles representing the 5 nations of the Confederacy, and how this plant was used as a peace plant. They look at the circular shape of the pine tree and its ability to reach a great age, which were believed to teach of the endless cycle and wheel of time, and the wisdom which comes from traveling many turns around the wheel of the year. According to the native wisdom, pine needles, which are wrapped at their base in small packets, were said to remind humans of the strength and sustenance available in unity. So often when we are processing grief, we feel like we're all alone, that we're the only ones carrying the weight of a loss or having to process something. But what pine does is it shows us that we are not alone, and that it is actually healthy to reach out and to receive support from others. And I was listening to this great podcast with Glennon Doyle. I don't know if any of you know We Can Do Hard Things. Great podcast. And she was talking about how she had a listener who called in and who said, we talk about reaching out for help, but who are we asking for help? Because we're all drowning. She's like, don't call me for help because I'm not available. Like I need help too. And so we kind of are in a time right now in history where everyone is in a state of some sort of grief and drowning, in the overwhelm of trying to live in a small nuclear family with very little outside support. It's like, I would love a meal train. Like, please bake me a meal and bring it over. um, but everyone needs that. So who's going to be the one baking, right? So in many ways, we have to call on our own self-sufficiency and but somehow find the unity and the connection and reaching out for help, and maybe not reaching out for the same help that everyone else needs, but reaching out for help in a way that just connects us to others. So to me, in my life, this has been being a little bit more authentic and honest about my feelings, sharing with friends, even though it's like, no one wants to talk about the ugly stuff. Actually, they do. Actually, we're all aching to hear each other's pain and to take the burden off of ourselves and to feel like we're not alone in our suffering. So that might be part of this unity is you might not be able to get a meal train going for yourself, but you might be able to reach out to a friend and say, "Hey, do you have 5 minutes? Can I just tell you what's going on? And I just need you to listen. And then I want to hear what's on your plate. Like, what are you struggling with?" And in that can be tremendous healing and deep breaths, which are ways of processing grief, just taking deep sighs together, right? Like, oh, that's hard. That is so hard. And just to hear yourself say that in service of another and to have someone else say that in service of you is tremendously healing. And so, how do we use pine? How do we utilize this medicine teaching us of unity and breath? Um, One of my favorite ways of using pine is just boiling it on the stove, using it as an aromatherapy in the house. So I went out the other day with my daughter and we picked a bunch of boughs of pine and I took a big pot of water, put it on the stove and just brought it to a low simmer and threw in pine leaves. And every hour I'd add more water and more pine. And the whole house was filled with this beautiful aromatic smell. And in aromatherapy, pine is very, very grounding. It's very calming, especially for children. So having this in the home, it's so simple. That can be a great way to just bring a little bit of grounding peace into the household. Also, in this book, Herbal Rituals, um, Judith is a massage therapist, and she said one of her favorite things she does with pine is that she infuses it into olive oil. And it could be really any oil. And you infuse it, chop it up so that the oils can come out and put it into any carrier oil and let it infuse. She said 12 weeks, but I'm going to need it sooner than that. So what you can then do is just heat it and do like a double boiler so that so you can basically put your oil in a glass jar, put your pine in, and then make a water bath. Or you can use a crock pot and then heat up the water, which will then passively heat up the oil and just let that cook for maybe 6 to 8 hours. You can do that a few days in a row is ideal until you can open up the jar and get that pine smell. And she said she would use that on her massage clients and they would instantly feel tension, stress, relief and release from their body. And then you can rub it on children's feet. The feet are very, very receptive. There's 72,000 nerve endings in the feet that are often used in reflexology, but also, it's a highly absorptive surface. So you can put that pine oil on the feet of children. I just like having pine around, this teacher of Evergreen that, grief is about letting go and death, but the soul is evergreen. The soul doesn't die. It's always there. It never began, it never ended. And so to have something around to remind us of the evergreen nature of the soul, even though, beauty may come and go and people may come and go and relatives and positions of family members like fathers and mothers, that changes. Those have to be let go. But there's something that is forever there, something that remains. And so having even like a bough of pine over your doorway, placing pine on your mantle, making a little altar, making a wreath of pine is something you can do, is weaving them together and making a pine wreath. Those are just simple ways you can bring this medicine into your home and into your life. I don't want to give you guys too many things to do because if you're dealing with grief, it's overwhelming and it's like, you get kind of paralyzed in it. So I'm going to just leave you there to start. Just a few simple ways of incorporating pine. And then even more simply, if you can get outside to a pine forest and just breathe in. There's a little pine patch near where I live. And sometimes I just go there and I just breathe. And that's all I can do is I just breathe in the pine. And yeah, pine is a very, very powerful medicine. And if you want to learn more recipes, there's more recipes in this book, Herbal Rituals, under the month of December. And yeah, there's so many great mulled wine, infused vinegars, a lot of gifts of this plant. So I'll leave you there. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's on your heart. If there's anything you need to share into the communal space, type it up, leave it. Let the burden go. Give it away. The part of the gift of human community is this idea of reciprocation, of giving away and receiving in, and this dance that we do with one another, and that the giveaway dance of the plants and our breath. We breathe out, the plants breathe in. The plants breathe out oxygen, we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. So there's this giveaway dance between us and the plants, even in our own breath. If we breathe under a tree, we're giving that tree carbon dioxide, which it needs to breathe in. So we can participate in the cycle of the tree's breath just by being near the plants. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you there. Thank you for watching. If you want to follow me, please click the subscribe button. You can also like this video if it was helpful. We have a Kickstarter campaign through my husband's site, Nightlight Astrology, if you want to donate and support our work. If you want to join our upcoming Roots and Spheres course, we have a link in the description here if you want to study astrology and herbal medicine with us in the year ahead. So, as always, take care of yourself, be blessed, and I'll talk to you and see you all again soon.